By actually speaking with, okay, we still have more stories which talk about President Bola Tinubu commending the decision of the Supreme Court affirming the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria on the statutory rights of local government. In a statement by the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajuri Ngelale, the President emphasizes that the onus is now on local government or local council leaders to ensure that the broad spectrum of Nigerians living at the level are satisfied that they are benefiting from people-oriented service delivery. President Tinubu notes that the provision of essential amenities, including community security, has tottered owing to the emasculation of local government. The President affirms that the decision of the Supreme Court to uphold the constitutional rights and ideals of local government as regards financial autonomy is of historical significance. Joining us in the studio is immediate past Executive Chairman, Amuwo Dofin Local Government Area in Lagos State, Comrade Ayodele Adewale. Thank you so much for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, I don't know how you received this news, but, you know, in matters of governance and development, local council or local government is a place where rubber meets the road, and then a lot is expected from that tier of government. So, first and foremost, talk to us about how you received this news, you know, as a former local government chairman.
Well, it's with mixed feelings. The first is that local government in other states, aside from Lagos State, that have been prevented to, you know, control their funds, will now have the power to control such. The other feeling is that it's not new. Especially for us in Lagos, right? We've been receiving our funds and we've been applying our funds to the best of our ability and with the provision of the budgetary inputs that we've done. But like I said, to local governments that are domiciled in states where they've not had the opportunity to access their fund for the betterment of their people.
Mm. Right. And one would expect, because you mentioned just before we started the program about that local governments have not been granted full autonomy. So one would expect that having financial autonomy to an extent would mean full autonomy. So can you clarify that for persons that do not know?
The fullness of the autonomy will be when the bill that is have been sent to the National Assembly and of course passed, and is meant to also go around majority of states. You can practically, you know, practice full autonomy as enshrined in the Nigerian Constitution.
Right. So, looking at the report, actually a revealing report by Budget, you know, indicating that 32 out of Nigeria's 36 states heavily rely on federal allocations to sustain their operations. So, if states still depend on federal government, and now local governments are now to also receive the allocation from the federation or from the federal government, should we even expect anything different, you know, from the local government to be creative and generate even more revenues, as we've been accusing of the states of not doing?
All I would expect is that communities must throw out or throw up the best within their lot. It's about capacity. The amount of money that will come from the federal government, yes, it will move the system a bit forward. That of the state will add on to it. But the inherent capacity of the local government helmsman is very, very sacrosanct. Because there is no enclave in this country where God has not blessed richly. So it depends on the human capacity to transform what he or she had met on ground, you know, cascade it beyond the imagination of people within that contemporary society for their betterment. So even if, for instance, you give a local government 5 billion a month and they are not able to turn it around and increase the capacity of that fund to the betterment of their people and to sustain the growth of that fund, then you'll be taking them back to zero.
So if state is receiving what it has been receiving, and then also adding that of the local government to its own, and now that the federal government will be giving the local government, let's say the local government will now have this, you know, these autonomous ways of, you know, spending money and budget and all of that. Would the state not be complaining that now we don't have as much as we used to get?
No, no, no. The stream of funds is clearly defined, right? The state government gets its own, the local government get their own, and the federal government make use of their own. So in a situation whereby some states are amassing that of the local government and you are incapacitating that local government, it does not increase the efficiency of the state. It only reduces the speed in which the state can cover growth. But if you allow the local government, which is the closest to the people, to carry out its own function, it helps to showcase the enormity of power of the state. Because you are not just working as one, but you are working as a multiple of structure.
So I'm concerned about how this will not lead to, a clash in the use or raising of resources for the state. The states have always had access to taxes and other forms of internally generated revenue. That's right. We are also talking about how local governments can use what they are getting now, or what they will get, to raise enough IGR for themselves. But we're talking about taxes or other forms of taxation that should be gotten from probably the market and other forms within the local government that have usually been channeled directly to the states. Won't this, get to a point where they will have to clash?
No. Revenue generation is clearly defined in the Nigerian Constitution to what the federal can generate or take from the people, as you call tax, to what the state can also take, is also called tax, but the local government is called levies, right? For instance, the local government collect market revenues. The state doesn't collect that. The local government collect what is called TV and radio licenses. You understand? It's a revenue source for the local government. And some other sources of revenue, right? These revenue streams are clearly defined. But in a situation whereby it interlopes, people should make complaints to the appropriate department and the issue will be sorted out.
Who is in charge of ensuring that it's pipe-bomb water? Because I've been seeing infrastructure development brought to different parts of the country where we want to fix this road. They try to prepare the road for tarring and all of that, and then you see them destroying the pipe-bomb water, and then, the pipes, and then they won't fix it back again. So who is responsible for installing that?
Ordinarily, that should not happen, right? Structures of government are meant to work with each other. I'll give you an example. When I was reconstructing 22 Road in Festac Town, right? The estate belonged to the federal government. We started the road reconstruction from Nitel all the way down to 22 Road by A-Close at the borders of 2nd Avenue. We understood that the underground infrastructure, right? So we met with FHA, and FHA brought out the blueprint of that area. So we knew where those infrastructures were, and we worked in tandem with them, so we didn't actually disturb or tamper with those infrastructures. Local government have what is called local government roads. The state have state roads, and the federal government have federal roads. Likewise in Amuwodofi, where I governed, Festac Town, and all across the state. In fact, local government have more roads than the states, because all those roads that transverse in between streets and water view, those are local government roads. So what I would expect the federal government and state government to also help local government to do is to improve on the training and capacity of local government officials, especially in their various departments, in order to take them to that height where everything can go in sync.
And this ruling is more like a reinforcement, because of course we already know that the local government is the third tier of government, and it has the provision, I think, in Section 7 of the Constitution for a democratically elected local government and not caretaker committees, which we have spoken to legal practitioners who say that is illegal. But this is still functioning in some states. We have major states like Anambra that has not held a local government election since 2014. We have Imo, we have Borno, Kwara, and other states that fall short. But to the elephant in the room, which is Rivers State, which many persons, thought about immediately this ruling was given, what would be the way out for the governor? The local October 5th. And of course, we're expected to have a campaign and all that. The governor has installed the caretaker committee chairman that will handle that. But the ruling is saying with immediate effect. So what is the way out for that?
Well, the way out has been said yesterday, right? What you had before was clear, was misunderstanding of provision of the Nigerian Constitution, as the case was. Because in the same Constitution, it grants the state, right, the power to create local government and also make administrative guidelines and laws that will help the local government operate and all of that. Now, the Supreme Court has been able to clearly define that provision. And we thank the President of Nigeria, President Tinubu, to have helped to marshal the Attorney General to carry out that duty. And we thank him dearly. We also thank him also for the government to sponsor a bill to the National Assembly to rework that provision so that it can be clearly stated and state where issues that you mentioned have been happening will definitely stop doing it. But from what the Supreme Court has said yesterday, it means that those states that have been hijacking the funds of the local government would stop to do it. And in a situation where they do it, then you can take them to court, right, and stop them from doing so.
All right, there's still much to talk about, but do stay with us here on TVC Breakfast. We'll take a break and be back to discussing the issue of the local government in Nigeria. Do stay with us. Since that granted full autonomy to local government dealt a severe setback on the principles of federalism. This is the reason. As it cited section 162, subsection 3 of the 1999 Constitution as amended, that the section expressly provides thus, each state shall maintain a special account to be called State Joint Local Government Account, into which shall be paid all allocations to the local government councils of the state from the federation account and from the government of the state. So he also argued that if the federal government is allowed to directly control government funds, it may exploit its power to exert political pressure and manipulate local governments. How plausible is his own divergent view?
Well, you must understand that laws are made for man, not man for the law, right? And laws are reviewed from time to time. So perhaps his thinking is sync towards what would have happened in the past. And even prior to 1999, the same provision was there, and local government was collecting their allocation directly. So what changed? Right? So what I felt that actually changed was that some local government at some point were not paying staff salary and they were not paying pension. And I believe that that was what promoted that universal agreement that they should have a joint account so that the first line charges can be plugged off. Because I also remember that when I was chairman of Amuward of a local government, our own time was the one that cleared off the backlog of pensions, you know, for local government staffs and all of that, and it was recalibrated. So if people now are saying that let's do away with that because of the fact that a lot of governors have been taking those funds and this fund is not being utilized at the local government level, so be it, right? And the apex court in the land has clearly, you know, clearly put a very good interpretation to that provision and had ruled that let the money go straight to the local government because these people are voted for. And if they are clearly voted for, the same way you collect your funds from the federal, the same way state generate their funds, the same way it should be at the local government level.
So there's no cause for alarm for the federal government, anyone at the
center cause for alarm,
trying to muscle power.
The cause for alarm now will be for people to monitor those funds and make sure that they are used effectively, right? And I want to propose that every budget cycle in the local government, there should be a structure that we put in place so that the budget of that local government for that year will be submitted, right? And at the end of that tenure or every quarter, right, in that budget cycle year, there should be an agency to come and verify the spendings of this local government and make sure that it's in tandem with the budgetary provision that have been put forward.
So when you say there is no cause for alarm, some persons also raised concerns yesterday. This, elicited a lot of reactions yesterday as soon as the ruling was announced, due to the fact that this local government, their finances, their establishments are promulgated upon by the State House of Assembly, which to an extent we still see some state governors still have an influence over the State House of Assembly. The idea of this ruling is to an extent remove the hold of the state governors on this local government. How far-reaching will this ruling go? And apart from that, there is also the question about the legitimacy of the State Electoral Commission. At this point, as a third tier of government, it is expected that INEC conducts the election and not the State Electoral Commission.
The journey of 1,000 miles starts with a step, right? The Supreme Court have helped us to take a very good leap step that will move that local government structure, effectively well. The second path is what the president have done, to have sponsored a bill to the National Assembly to rework that law. And by now, I want to believe that every state houses of assembly in Nigeria should have had a copy to go through it. Then they pass it back to the National Assembly, haven't bought into that particular agenda. The third will be that there should be a provision in that law that will allow, not just for INEC, right? If you are saying INEC should oversee the local government, all of the local government, well and good. But truly, if the local government are going to be self-independent and have that sovereignty as it should be, then we must make provision for local government electoral commission so that they will have their local government police, have their local government electoral commission, have their own department to generate their funds, and they stay autonomous, like you see in some developed contemporary societies where local government even have their electrification generating structure.
That's right.
Right? So that they grow in accordance to their ability, right? And competition will help all of them to grow well appropriately.
Well, three arms of government. We have the executive, legislative, and the judiciary. We know how the federal government operates. We know how the state operates. But if you ask a lot of Nigerians, they do not have an idea of how a local government is run, an administration is run, or should be run. Could you help us, break it down to brass tacks, how local government structure actually is and what Nigerians should expect and do in ensuring that it actually works or functions optimally?
Well, for clarity, I will take your establishment as a case study, right? You are a microcosm within the Lagos macrocosm. You have your security guys at the gate, right? You also have them around. You have your cleaners. You have your gardeners. You have your technicians and all of that, right? When you cross out of this gate, the state government have their security operatives, they have their LASMA, they have their direct labor, they have XYZ. That is how it is. The local government is the closest to the people. It's rather unfortunate that because of the fact that a lot of local government have not been active, so people have developed a very appalling behavior towards moving close to the local government. While I was chairman, I came in at the age of 33 in 2008, October 30th, and I left in 2014. When I came in, I met one doctor, right? I met about, I think, about 8 nurses. I met about 15 community extension workers, health workers that you call wole wole. Yeah. Now, first of all, I had a town hall meeting to discuss with the people, to understand what our program was to be after our campaign. I met the NYSC, I met the Army, and I also met retiree doctors. When I was leaving, I left 56 doctors. My NYSC doctors, I was paying them 100,000 at the Riverine, as at then, 70,000 upland. I engaged 110 community extension workers, health workers, because Dr. Kolawole, then is late now, told me that the best form of health is community health, when you can improve on it. Now, I engaged about 60 nurses, right? In totality, I engaged over 1,000 non-pensionable workers, from doctors to engineers to nurses to teachers. We didn't have enough teachers. I engaged a lot of teachers. I got an education consultant, right, to train them.
That's right.
And we were giving free health, right? Free drugs from 0 to 16, 16 and above. So that brought a lot of people closer to the local government. And we generate our funds. The year I came in, my IGR was, I think, 30,000 naira the month I came in. But when I was leaving an IGR of 24 million naira plus. Right?
So help us contextualize
so we're able to generate all of these things.
In the reality of Nigeria of today,
yes,
what we should see. You've actually essentially, highlighted what you did, especially in terms of the health sector. But generally, we have the local council, we have the, another state. I know the state actually makes bylaws.
Yeah, no. The local government
make bylaws. So essentially, things that Nigerians should see, because when you talk about national budget, everyone memorizes it. They don't even know that of the state, let alone the local government. So what should we see? How should we hold them by their jugular for them to function?
One, you should interact with your local government structure, the helmsman there. The local government every year have what is called consultative meetings before the budget is put together. They discuss with people. And intermittently, they also have town hall meetings. Like in my time, quarterly, we have town hall meetings, right? And the local government also provide health services at the primary healthcare level, right? The local government are in charge of sanitation within their communities, and of course to generate revenue, and they make bylaws as appropriate. And they review those bylaws. So people must try as much as possible to visit their local government. And in my time, we were producing 10,000 copies of leaflets like this, right? 4 pages to every interest group within the local government. We also put it into newspaper insertion. We also have a big magazine that is called the Amuwo Herald that comes out every 3 months. And we also have a website. We were on Twitter, right? And all of that as at that time. So local governments themselves must try as much as possible to put information out.
That's right.
Right? Everywhere. And at the riverine communities, we also have town criers. Then we had a security council where we meet every month. And in that security council, you had the army, because there's an army barracks within my local government, the navy barracks, we had the navy, the police, the immigration. We have an immigration service.
There's a whole lot.
There's a whole lot to be. Yes, and you also have to interact with the market people. We have what's called a market master, and we also make provision to also meet with them, to listen to them. And on every environmental sanitation day, then we pick some communities to sit with them and talk to them. So the local government is just like you and I discussing every day and meeting every day.
Interesting stuff. I really appreciate the fact that you're able to take us back in the day into some of the things that your administration was able to do. And I believe that, this current local government chairman that we have in Lagos, because some of them are happy that they'll be receiving the money directly, but some are not actually working. We know that some are actually not working. Some of them spend the money on their girlfriends, buy cars and all of that. But now it's time for Nigerians to, hold them by their jugular and get them to work. Immediate past executive chairman, Amuwo Odofin, local government area, Lagos State, Comrade Ayodele Adewale. Thank you so much for your
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
Right. Now to stay with us here on TVC Breakfast. Coming up, what does the VAPP Act say about